Congress, and let's be really candid here, we're talking about Republicans in Congress, what they can do. Let's see what they actually do.
Yeah.
When it comes to cutting spending, because we're getting a lot of big talk.
Yeah. And we've gotten a lot of big talk before.
A lot of big talk. This is why I'm frustrated. We were also excited about Doge.
Oh, I was so excited about Doge.
And that turned out to be a little bit of a circus, but they identified huge areas to cut spending. And the Republicans have yet to deliver the really big stuff. Some sizable little stuff. Some of it symbolic, some of it directional, which I appreciate.
Here and there.
But there's so much more that can be done. We're now joined by Tommy Aiello from the National Taxpayers Union. Tommy, good to chat with you again. It's been a while since you and I have chatted here. So Congress comes back in session. There's the old saying, and I don't remember, it was Mark Twain or somebody who basically said that nobody's life, liberty, or money is safe when Congress is in session, or somebody said something like that. But the Republicans love going on, Fox News, and they love going on Meet the Press, and they love going on Newsmax and saying, we've got a plan to cut spending. We have to cut spending. We've got to have the backbone to do it. But they've been saying it for decades, and we just can't seem to get it done when the rubber hits the road. What are some areas that Republicans, the leadership, can deliver on this, and why is it so important?
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me. And you're exactly right. Republicans always talk till they're blue in the face about being the party of fiscal responsibility. But unfortunately, we found ourselves in $37 trillion worth of debt, $2 trillion annual deficits. That doesn't happen overnight. It's the consequence of Republican and Democrat Congresses and administrations. So here at the National Taxpayers Union, we put out a 4 to 5 step roadmap for September for Republicans to look at. One, we should return to pre-COVID spending levels. That'll save about $400 billion. We should continue to do more rescissions packages. That can save tens of billions of dollars just this year. We should do another reconciliation package where we can identify, and there are many areas that we've already identified that are ripe for reform that Democrats simply won't work with us on. That's, changes to the Department of Education, changes to the entitlement programs, and we should continue to hold the line against some of these end-of-year extenders. These are things that tax credits that expire at the end of the year that are extremely costly. And we need to make sure we don't extend them because it would extend Obamacare and more COVID era programs. So when you take all those things together, we think that there's hundreds of billions of dollars on the table that could easily be clawed back.
Good morning, Tommy. Gabe Pfeiffer here. So a lot of the cuts that we've been talking about, they feel as though we were kind of nibbling around the edges of the real the elephant in the room. Essentially, we're to mix my metaphors. Social Security is really, that's the big dog, isn't it? It's what, 20 some odd percent of
entitlements in general.
Entitlements in general, but Social Security in particular is, I think, if you were to divide them into the various categories, that'd be the biggest category. Do you think we'll ever, basically in our lifetimes, see an administration, a government that's willing to touch basically the third rail of politics in a way that will actually have an appreciable effect on our ability to handle debt?
The way I look at it is, if there's a storm coming on the horizon and there are, our house has holes in our roof, we fix the holes when the sun is shining before the rain starts to come. And when you look at the data, Social Security is going insolvent in the next 6 to 7 years. That means every person that relies on Social Security right now is going to get a 25% cut. So either way, changes are going to be coming to the Social Security program, whether we like it or not. I'm really hopeful that as we sort of approach that deadline, and Congress, as we all know, they only legislate with clear deadlines. And, when something is 6 years out, they don't have an incentive to change. That's just how the nature of the institution is. However, I think as we start to get a little bit closer, maybe even in President Trump's lame duck, that's the last 2 years of his presidency, there'll actually be some bipartisan way or options to fix the program. But, like I said, either way, the program is going to be changing in 6 years, whether we like it or not. But, we'll have to see what actually happens. But yeah, it's a real problem. And, to your point, entitlements make up 67% of the federal budget. So that's 67%, that's all on autopilot. When we talk about cutting spending, we can really only talk about that 33% of the pie. That's things like, the Department of Education, the Department of Energy, Commerce. There's money to cut, but even if we eliminated every department outside of the Department of Health and Human Services and the Treasury, you would only cut about 33% of spending. It's a real problem.
I think the incentives part that you just mentioned is crucial, and not enough people pay attention to that sort of thing. We're visiting with Tommy Aiello from the National Taxpayers Union, because that's the frustrating thing is I think we've been basically chicken littled into complacency because we've been hearing about the fiscal cliff and how this is going to be disastrous for all of us for 30 years. And at some point you go, okay, yeah, another crisis is coming. Oh, another government shutdown is coming. Oh, Social Security is going to be insolvent the way that it was going to be 10 years ago or 20 years ago, but the can keeps getting kicked down the road. Our taxes don't go down, spending never goes down, and we never seem to actually identify the impact on our lives, even though it is impacting our lives. What's the block, not just from the lawmakers doing the right thing, the fiscally responsible thing, but for us to actually feel the impact of these fiscally irresponsible decisions that they've been making for generations?
Yeah, I think we've been feeling it over the past 5 years, and that's from inflation. Every time the government spends more money than they take in, the Federal Reserve has to print more money, the Treasury has to borrow more money. And when the Fed does that, it obviously makes the money supply increase and makes all of our paychecks degraded. That's because there's more money floating around, and people's paychecks feel like they're paying more for things that they were just buying the other day. And as we get these higher and higher deficits, that problem is only going to continue. So that's why people think about these $2 trillion annual deficits, the $37 trillion national debt. What does it actually mean for them? It's all big numbers. People don't always, they know the national debt's a big thing, but how does it actually impact them? Well, high inflation obviously means we're paying more for things than we otherwise would have. It also means interest rates have to stay really high, and that makes borrowing costs more expensive. It makes it harder to secure a home. So if we really structurally address our debt, we can fix all of these other problems that working class people are dealing with, that we're all dealing with. So that's the very frustrating part about this whole thing, is we're all feeling the effects of spending more than we're taking in. But unfortunately, people just don't always, associate the two together.
So we had so much, celebration of the establishment of Doge and the way it was set up. And obviously it became, a big drama thing, and the breakup of the bros between the president and Elon Musk. But they said something very clearly on the table, is that nothing changes until spending actually gets cut. Here are the things that are wasteful or inefficient or duplicative. We can cut these. And yet it just seems like almost none of what's been presented is being acted on. And congressmen and women, Congress critters, are essentially arguing, yeah, that was great. I supported Doge. Okay, vote to cut all the stuff. It's harder than it looks, and we're just not getting what was promised again. And at this point, I don't know the Republicans can blame anybody but themselves.
Yeah, that's Congress for you. They move at a snail's pace, and I think almost all Republicans appreciate the work that Elon Musk and Doge did, and that work still goes on, even though Elon Musk isn't there. Look, we achieved a $9 billion clawback of the Doge cuts. That's great, right? I'm not jumping up and down like it's going to solve all of our problems, but Congress and Washington, they just always spend money. It's nice that we're not only talking about clawing some of it back, but actually taking action. So it's $9 billion. It's not a lot of money. What the president did on Friday with his pocket rescission of I think it was about $5 billion, that's more money that's being added to that savings counter. And I'll also add that from some of my conversations that I've had with different departments of the administration, is not everything needs to be doged. Not everything needs to go up to Congress for a vote. What a lot of departments are doing is they've been going through every single contract, every single program, saying what's been spent, what hasn't been spent, And instead of sending that money to the Congress for a vote of whether that unspent money should be clawed back, they're simply just not spending it. So that work still continues, even if the headlines aren't appearing as if Doge is clawing back all of this money. That stuff is just happening naturally without the press release, which I think is a pretty good thing. We shouldn't always publicize the work that they're doing. Yes, we want to give them credit, but I want to assure your listeners that work still goes on, even if you're not seeing the headlines about it in the news every day.
Are there any structural changes that we should be advocating for through our various lawmakers to kind of not only to push us back into sort of a fiscally responsible setup here, but to keep us there? Things like zero-based budgeting they always come to mind. Are there things that you find particularly interesting in that regard for as structural changes to help us prevent going off the fiscal cliff?
Yeah, I think we certainly need a balanced budget amendment, but that always takes a long time. I think most immediately your listeners should try and keep pressure on Congress not to extend the COVID era enhanced premium tax credit. These are tax credits that help subsidize Obamacare. It's an Obamacare started under Obamacare. It was expanded by President Biden under COVID to help more people have coverage. It really helps wealthier people. We think that should not be extended, and we're really concerned that there could be a push from Democrats and Republicans in September to extend it. We're here in the Beltway in DC. We're already seeing the ads to try and extend it. It costs an extra $30 billion a year. It was supposed to be a temporary program. Now they potentially want to extend it indefinitely, which just continues to boggle my head that this always happens in Washington. And then the second one is pushing for a second reconciliation bill, similar to the process under the One Big Beautiful Bill that was such a success. This time having it really focused on debt and deficit reduction. We think that there is an appetite for Republicans to do a little bit more. So we just need to continue to urge them from the grassroots that, hey, we really want to see fiscally responsible policies enacted. We know the Democrats aren't going to help us on that. Republicans should do it alone. So another reconciliation bill focused on debt and deficit, we think is paramount.
Yeah, my guess is that if something fiscally responsible is going to happen, it's going to happen fast because we're a year away from the primaries and we're getting into election silly / stupid season.
Yeah.
And everything goes out the window. All right, Tommy, how do we connect with the work that you all are doing? People want to see your step-by-step guide that you were pointing out there or get talking points to call their own Congress critter. What's the way to do it?
Yeah, well, thanks again for having me. All of this information, along with any other issues that you're interested in, can be found on our website, ntu.org. We're also on social media, Facebook and X. So please give us a follow and keep apprised to the work we're doing to make sure taxpayers are protected on Capitol Hill and in the states.
All right. Thanks, Tommy. Talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Tommy.
Thank you.